My name is Lucius, and no, I'm not here to teach you how to live. I'm here to show you how this world actually works. They told you the world is fair. They told you that if you are patient, obedient, and good, things will eventually work out. That was not a lie born of cruelty. It was a lie born of necessity. Law 3. Identity is protected before truth. This law explains more human behavior than fear, ignorance, or manipulation ever could. A person does not abandon a belief because it is false. They abandon it only when it no longer protects who they think they are. Truth can be argued. Identity cannot. Once an idea becomes part of how someone defines themselves, it stops being information. It becomes shelter. And anything that threatens it is no longer treated as a fact, but as an attack. In our time, identity is no longer quiet. It is displayed, reinforced, and constantly reflected back. Opinions are worn like signals. Beliefs become shortcuts for belonging. To agree is to be accepted. To disagree is to be exposed. This changes how truth functions. Truth no longer asks, "Is this accurate?" It asks, "Is this safe for who I am?" When information aligns with identity, it feels obvious. When it contradicts identity, it feels hostile. The strength of the reaction has nothing to do with the strength of the evidence. This is why arguments fail before they begin. A challenge to belief feels like a challenge to self, and the mind reacts accordingly, not by examining, but by defending. Logic is not consulted, it is recruited. In earlier times, identity was slower to form. It was shaped by place, role, and limitation. In your time, it is assembled rapidly, publicly, and emotionally. It can change, but only within safe boundaries. Those boundaries are not defined by truth. They are defined by belonging. Once belonging is at stake, reality becomes negotiable. Context is reshaped. Motives are assigned. Information is filtered not by accuracy, but by loyalty. A person does not ask, "Is this true?" They ask, "What does this say about me if it is?" If the answer threatens status, connection, or self-image, the question is dismissed. This is not arrogance. It is protection. Identity creates stability. Stability reduces uncertainty. And uncertainty is expensive, so the mind learns quickly. Some questions are allowed, others are dangerous. This is how identity begins to outrank reality, not through deception, but through self-preservation. In our time, identity is no longer something a person discovers. It is something they assemble. It is built from language, symbols, affiliations, and reactions. From what is shared, defended, and publicly rejected. Identity becomes a performance, repeated often enough to feel real. Once performed, it must be maintained. This maintenance requires constant reinforcement. Signals must be sent, boundaries must be defended, contradictions must be explained away. Over time, protecting identity becomes more important than understanding reality. This is where perception bends. Information is no longer evaluated on its own. It is evaluated by what it threatens. If it strengthens identity, it is amplified. If it weakens identity, it is reframed. If it endangers belonging, it is dismissed entirely. This process feels rational from the inside. The mind does not say, "This cannot be true." It says, "This cannot be allowed." In our time, disagreement is rarely about facts. It is about alignment. To accept certain information would require social repositioning. It would mean distance from familiar groups, narratives, and self-descriptions. That cost feels immediate. Truth does not. So the mind chooses preservation over correction. This is why people can hold conflicting beliefs without discomfort. Identity does not require coherence. It requires loyalty. As long as loyalty remains intact, contradictions are tolerated. Reality becomes fragmented into acceptable versions. Each group carries its own. Each identity protects its own. And each believes it is acting rationally. This does not require manipulation. It requires repetition. Once identity is reinforced through attention, agreement, and reaction, it becomes self-sustaining. The system no longer needs to intervene. People will filter reality for themselves. They will defend narratives they did not create. They will reject questions they did not examine. They will feel threatened by information they have not processed, not because they are controlled, but because control feels unnecessary when identity feels secure. At this point, truth becomes secondary, not because it is hidden, but because it is inconvenient. The mind does not ask what is real. It asks what keeps the structure intact. And structure is rarely built for accuracy. It is built for stability. In our time, identity does not merely influence perception, it governs it. Once identity becomes the primary filter, reality adapts to survive within it. Facts are not rejected outright. They are softened, reframed, delayed, or redirected until they no longer threaten the structure they enter. This is why truth rarely disappears. It is diluted. The mind learns how to keep both, a version of reality that functions socially, and a deeper awareness that remains untouched but unused. The contradiction is not resolved. It is compartmentalized. This allows people to feel informed without being altered, aware without being changed. Identity provides continuity. Reality provides disruption. Continuity is preferred. In earlier eras, identity was constrained by necessity. Survival left little room for contradiction. In your time, identity is abstract, flexible, and symbolic. It can expand endlessly without requiring action. This creates a strange condition. People feel strongly without moving. They care deeply without adjusting. They defend positions without understanding them. Identity absorbs the energy that truth would otherwise demand. When questioned, the response is not curiosity, it is reflex. A reflex is faster than thought. It protects before it evaluates. This is why correction feels like aggression, why evidence feels intrusive, why silence feels safer than reconsideration. The protection of identity becomes automatic. At this stage, truth does not need to be opposed. It only needs to be postponed. There is always more context, more nuance, more interpretation, more time. And while time passes, identity remains intact. This law explains why change is rare even when information is abundant, why exposure does not lead to transformation, why understanding does not translate into action. Identity stabilizes the individual within a shifting world. It gives shape. It gives belonging. It gives meaning. Reality offers none of these guarantees. So when the two conflict, the choice is already made. Not consciously, not maliciously, but consistently. Identity is preserved. Reality adapts. This is not a flaw. It is a function. And once understood, it becomes predictable.